Yama and welcome to Blacademia. Joining me on today's episode is the wonderful Kahlia Saunders. Yama, Kahlia.
Anyata, thank you, Amy.
If you could introduce yourself to the podcast listeners and tell us also what it is that you do.
Yes, so I am Kahlia Saunders. I'm a proud Gunditjmara and Boandik woman. Been living here on a Awabakal country now for 16 years. It's how I had the pleasure of meeting yourself and your beautiful family. I am currently the Language and Culture Officer for the state of New South Wales, working outside of our language nests, and been in education now as a teacher for 16 years. And yeah, very, very excited to be here and talk about my role.
16 years is phenomenal. So while in the first season of Blacademia, I only spoke with academics, this season I'm really excited to be bringing a range of perspectives from mob who all have degrees and have engaged with the university process, but don't necessarily stay within the universities with their roles. And I just couldn't think of anyone more perfect than you. So we have known each other for a pretty long time now, both as a school teacher, where my eldest child was a long time ago, and through the AECG at a regional level. And it's so excited to hear about all of the work that you've been doing. But let's go back to the beginning. So a teacher for 16 years, statistically, that's phenomenal because the burnout rate hits at about 5-year mark. So well done. Are you the first in your family to be a school teacher, to go to university? What's that process been like?
Yeah, so definitely the first one in my family who was graduated, finished year 12, graduated through university. So that in itself was huge. I had the pleasure of working at the Institute of Career Education to complete my degree, which is on Wadawurrung country in Geelong, and ran through Deakin University. So I packed up my little bag and moved out of the family home for the first time. And it's a huge process to go through that. I was very lucky that my partner at the time was also at university, and we kind of just bunkered down together and soldiered through it. Being a university student without that support or understanding of what that's like to go through uni from family was big for both of us. He had family in Melbourne, so we were lucky in that regards. But studying at the Institute of Career Education, I worked with Aboriginal people from all over Australia, and to I guess all be on that journey together was really big for us. One of my favourite memories is being at uni and someone from Tasmania brought over a big bag of mutton bird and we cooked it at the hotel that we all got to stay at, because we would come and we'd stay at the Institute of Career Education, IKE, we called it. And he cooked this mutton bird at our hotel. And I don't know if you've ever eaten mutton bird before, but it stains everything. The fat and the smell of the mutton bird stains everything. And so we'd cooked it at the hotel and we all sat around picking up mutton bird, and little things like that I think were what got me through, because I knew that I was studying with people who would come spend 2 weeks off country and all be together, and guess muddling our way through life all together, and to have that culturally safe space to study with. I met some lifelong friends there. One of them is she's from Newcastle, and we're currently just bumped back into each other and our words have recollided. And the work I'm doing now, she works in early childhood, and I'm able to work with her again now, and it's just a really cool thing.
That's beautiful. I love that. So the term first in family, if you're outside of the university system, is like, it's actually a specific phrase, and it means that your older siblings, your parents, your grandparents have never done that thing. So for both of us, that's, we're the first to have finished year 12 and to gone into university. And one of the reasons that's such a big deal and why there is a phrase for it is because the majority of people in university are not first in family. And that means that, their dinner table conversations are very different to ours when it comes to understanding essay structures and requirements for assessments that are university specific. They have people there at the dining table growing up using those phrases, being able to pick up the phone and be like, Mum, what do they mean by this? And it's less scary and intimidating and daunting, and it's also less labor for them. Whereas for us, we have to learn how to do all the things.
Yes.
And if we're stuck on something, you need to go and find the person who might have the time, the capacity and the willingness to then talk you through the thing.
Yeah.
And because most of the people at university who are studying are not first in family, back in the day, there were not spaces and places for this. So for me, I relied on Walla Tuka at the University of Newcastle to kind of stick my head in there. And I didn't even know what I didn't know. So I would get things wrong and not know until I was getting my grades back or until I was presenting in front of the class. And I think they're the experiences that sometimes people outside of the space don't know.
Yeah.
So why teaching? Did you go into it going, I want to be a teacher?
Yeah, that's a great question. No. I actually really was fortunate enough to have a careers advisor. I don't even know if they were called that back then. But he spoke to me about some other opportunities to try and keep me in school. So I was dropping out at around year 10 and becoming a hairdresser. And
really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was so adamant that that's what I was doing. And so I did an SBAT, they call it now, or workplace experiences. I went to TAFE a couple of days a week and did my hairdressing degree as well as a beauty therapy degree. Yeah. So that's what I was doing.
I never knew this about you. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I and that in itself was laboursome because I would have to travel an hour. We did not live in a big town. So mum would take me up or I'd carpool with other people to go to TAFE, and we did all the things, you know, put your hand in the paraffin wax. We learned how to cut, we learned how to style, and I was adamant that that's what I was doing.
Wow.
Yeah. I have a really beautiful story around that as well. I remember going to a family funeral and one of my uncles was there, and he's a beautiful spiritual man, and he looked me in the eyes and he said, "Bub, that's not what you're going to do." I said, "No, I'm doing it right now, Uncle. I'm going to be a hairdresser." And he goes, "No, Bub, you're destined for bigger things." So, and he knew, and I was so adamant that that's what I was doing until I got to my last year of school. And the careers advisor recommended I just branch out a little bit. And so he goes, "Why don't you go and try, you've done the hairdressing thing, just try something." So I looked into childcare, and my brothers were at the local daycare centre because small town things. And the daycare lady was like, "Oh, look, it's probably not a great idea because the boys will muck up while you're there." So I went into a kindergarten classroom, and that was it.
Oh.
Yeah. The minute I stepped into that kindergarten classroom, I was like, "Oh no, this is it." Yeah. So that's how teaching came around for me.
Wow, that's amazing. So many things had to happen.
Yeah.
Even your brothers being in the
daycare. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How lucky and beautiful to have elders and older family members to speak that life into you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a really off the cuff comment. We were just outside and we were talking, and uncle's from Tamworth. He married into the family, and he married my dad's sister, and we were just, you know, back and forthing, you know, as you do with your elders. You sit there and you just listen, and he said that to me, and I was just like, what, you know, what do you know?
No, I'm already doing it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "You're not going to do that." I was like, "No, I am doing it right now." And then to kind of look back at those little moments, those sliding door moments,
That's so funny too about like the preschool, the small town thing, because, you know, where we live, it's not even that it's that small anymore, but like what we call preschool, my little brother went there 25 years ago. He was one of the first like little collectives of kids going to that preschool.
Beautiful.
And then my son went through it as well. And there was still some of the same staff there.
Oh,
like it's so beautiful when we have these connections. And in that instance, it actually redirected you out of the space and into a classroom.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And so then you were like, "Oh my gosh, now I have to go to uni?"
Yes. Yes. So then I was like, so what does that look like? And that was another really amazing story because another auntie of mine had gone through IKE, the institute, and she was like, "Oh, well, if you don't get the score that you need to get into another university, we could look into this avenue. And I was really lucky that she was able to kind of support me through that process.
Yeah.
But it meant getting my confirmation of Aboriginality. It meant putting in applications to go to university, completing year 12. And then the what next. And if I got into university, that meant leaving home. And that for me was huge because where I grew up was 4 hours from Melbourne, and to go into the big smoke, like no one did that. So yeah, that was terrifying. I remember the first time driving in Melbourne when Melways was still a thing, the book, and you don't just turn a page and find the next part of the map. It's like it's like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah, and we both have children who are driver's license age.
Yes.
That's on the next 12 months for me,
Yes.
and you're in it now.
Yes.
And I only just found out that if you're on your L's and your P's, you're not allowed to use your GPS.
No.
And so I had to explain to my child what like a Melways was, what a map is. And they were saying, how do we work around this? Like, I don't know. I wasn't good at it then. And I use the maps here, even though I grew up here.
Yes.
Like, I love a GPS.
Love it. Even if you don't need it, you're like, take me home. You know how to get there, but I'm like, I'm still going to use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, oh, wow. That's amazing. And I think it's funny too. So for people who aren't familiar with like the confirmation process, you're covered by your parents' confirmation until you're 18. And if you're in the town where you've grown up, if you're in the community that knows your parents, knows your family, then you don't need one.
Yeah.
And then if you suddenly do, it's such a funny process. So when I was like, oh, I needed it for something, I then had to go through this whole process and, you know, go before the land council and everyone was like, why haven't you joined before? And I was like, I don't know. I've been bringing Pop to all the meetings. Like I just hadn't done it. But one more set of tasks.
Yeah.
Like for me, I didn't get it until after my first degree, I think. I can't even remember. And then I think I didn't even end up needing it for anything in the end, but I was like, I need to have it just in case.
Yep.
But having to go through the process, you've got to get your genealogy together, you've got to go in, you've got to make sure people are at the meeting who are going to stand up and vouch for you. And then you would have been doing like your alternative entry essays, like writing this stuff. Hi, my name's Kahlia. I want to be a teacher. Please let me come. And then working out, what do I need to pack? Okay, well, I don't have a fry pan and I don't have spices and like I've now got to, and did you have a car?
Oh, well, that's another great story. So luckily, Dad had actually come into some money from the stolen generation, but he brought me a mint green 1985 Holden Gemini.
That would kill today. Yes. That would kill today.
I'd be sick on the streets right now. And I didn't know if it was going to get me to Melbourne, but it was my first car and it was stored at my mum's house and it had gotten ocean mist, like rust on it. Yeah. So she like puttied it up and put gaffer tape over the top of it and then repainted it a new colour. So that was the car that I took for my first year at university. And I was lucky I'd worked in hospitality for a very long time prior. So I got my first job when I was 14 to support mum and my siblings at home in hospitality, which just worked out brilliantly because that is a life skill that can get you work anywhere. So I took my 1985 Holden Gemini and my Melways and whatever I could fit in the back of my car, and I moved to Melbourne and got a job at the Melbourne Zoo.
At the zoo?
Yeah, that was really cool.
That's so cool. What, like selling ice creams, like doing hospo? Amazing.
Yes. Yeah, so in hospo, but it was a saving grace. So we got to eat the food. So I lived like a king all day and then we would take leftovers home for the poor little broke uni bums that we were. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And the best food I ever got was when we would do like night functions and you'd have like a full like meal because we would just eat the leftover wedding function food or something. And yeah, it was pretty cool. But that was how I got myself through uni, was like eating at the zoo and then driving around in my little beat up Holden Gemini.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it was a pretty
like-
cool car. I do miss it.
I feel like that kind of storyline would kill on TikTok these days. Like, get ready with me with my little mint card to go sell ice creams at the zoo. We'll go say hello to a meerkat. Like,
Yeah, the coolest part was they would walk the elephants around the zoo in the morning, and because I would do open,
yeah,
you'd just be like, hey, and there'd be an elephant just like walking down the footpath. And
that's amazing.
yeah,
Man,
Yeah.
I feel like our kids would love for that to be their story. That's beautiful.
it was pretty cool.
And then how long did it take you to get your teaching qualification?
Yeah. So for me, it took a little bit longer. I didn't finish within that 4-year context. So you would appreciate like life and family, and that played a huge impact on the ability that I had to kind of complete the degree in the right time. I've got had a younger sister, and she decided that she was going to have this beautiful little baby girl, and she was doing so well for herself until she wasn't. So my partner and I took on my niece to come and live with us. So that was a year off. That was failed subjects. That was being 19, 20 and becoming a full-time mum of a 1-year-old and going through all those complexities of your commitment to being back home and also what you want to do. And you would understand being, the eldest daughter, it's a role in itself. You have an obligation to your family that is this unwritten law. Like when things go bad, they call you up. When things aren't so good at home, you're the one that goes home and swoops in and keeps all the pieces together. Yeah. So my degree actually took me 6 years, 2 states. We moved from Melbourne to Brisbane at the time. And I think it was 6 years. So, yeah. And I had my daughter as well while I was doing this. So there's 2 years between my niece and my daughter. So at some stage I was a full-time mum of a 2-year-old and pregnant or had a 1-year-old. And we were living in Brisbane, and more often than not, the phone call would come and pick Ciara up, is her name. And I would fly home, pick her up, bring her back. So she's lived with me on and on until she was about 4. And having my daughter in the interim. So when I graduated, I was pregnant with my son and Isabel was 2. So it was a big, big stint, 18 to 23 it took, but we got there.
Yeah, I remember back, I mean, I don't know if it's changed now. I haven't been actively teaching at uni for 2 years. I'm in a research-only role, so maybe they've improved on it. But I remember back in the day when you would need to apply for like an extension, there was nothing in the drop-down box that ever fit the things.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, you'd need some kind of proof. And I'm like, I don't have anything in writing to say I've got 2 teenagers coming to live with me for a little while.
Yeah.
Like I don't have anything in writing to cover this. And I've had lots of children come and live with me in various periods of time. Like I think it's like it'd be 10. Like I think, and I always find it interesting, like when I go to say I'm a mum of how many, and it's like, well, I have 3 children who live in my home that I've given birth to, but I also have my stepdaughter. I also have several children who are related to me through our nation who have come and lived with us. I've had babies who have come and lived with us for several months, and you can't just say no. Like, I mean, you can, but you can't. Like, I remember one of the times, and, I was in the middle of my master's degree, I'm going to say, and literally had someone spot me in Kmart who hadn't seen us in a little while and was like, hey, we have a baby that we need someone to help look after. And then I had a little baby with us for a while. And there's nothing in the uni drop downs for that. And there never used to be like, there weren't change tables or anything. Like I remember being pregnant in my first degree with my eldest child. And then for several reasons, I ended up having to come back and do another semester. And so then I had a newborn. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just going to bring them. And some of the buildings only had stairs, so you couldn't bring a pram. And there was nowhere to change them. And thank goodness it was a breastfed situation because there was nowhere to heat up a bottle. Yeah. There never used to be supports for that. Now there are absolutely parenting and guardian change spaces, but this is stuff that I think is super common for mob.
Yeah.
And never used to really be included. But now this is kind of part of the justification for why we do need a bit longer. And with the PhD, for example, it is like official recommendation that mob get 4 years instead of 3.
Yeah.
And when people say to me, I want to do a degree or I want to go back and do a master's or a PhD, but so much is happening, my approach is like, it's almost a little bit dark. It's like, you will have slow business.
Yeah.
People are going to get sick. Money can get tight.
Yep.
If you're going to do it, just get it done as quickly as you can to limit the window where those things can happen, and get that work done so you have that resource for yourself.
Yep.
And I think like the role that you're in now, so you've had 16 years of school teaching and you have had such an impact. Like we were saying earlier, my eldest child is home and saw Kahlia come in and, you know, we were talking before Kahlia arrived and they were saying, you know, that they still remember being in kindy or year 1, so really little, and Miss Saunders saying like deadly and like, oh, that's deadly or you're deadly, something like that to my child, and they came home and God, deadly today, Mum. Like they felt so affirmed hearing that language and having your influence on them all those years ago. Oh. Like you've had such an impact in the schools, but now you have this phenomenal role.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're able to use your degree and your experience. Do you want to talk a little bit to that?
Yes, thank you. And I mean, it's something you don't think of when you're stepping into a school space. You are trying to be your most authentic self. So it's so beautiful to hear Etta talk like that. Yes. So just being your most authentic self, and you want the kids to see that. You want them to be able to look at that person standing in front of them and see, I could be that person. I'm very much of the belief that if you can't see it, you can't be it. And that was a huge step for me stepping into this space as an Aboriginal woman and then an educator second. It was always, you are going to see me being Black first and then the teacher comes second. And so it's so beautiful to hear those stories come back. So when I came back from overseas, I just knew that I had itchy feet and I wanted to just make my impact reach further. I knew that what I was doing in my space was so important and valuable, but having that cultural burnout and taking on that cultural load as the only Black teacher in my particular area, in the primary schools, I was the only Black teacher. And in the high school, they had several other Black teachers, but they weren't necessarily comfortable or able to impart that cultural load into the space they were working in. Yeah. And so I was leading Aboriginal education across our community of schools. And I just knew that there had to be something else. And then I started to see the likes of some of my great mentors stepping out of executive roles in schools and going into this corporate space in the department, which we were never told about when we were at high school or uni, or you didn't see those pathways. You just became a teacher and then you were an AP, assistant principal, or a deputy principal or a principal, and it kind of just stopped there. Yeah. But I was really lucky to have some great mentors that stepped into the corporate space, and that those executive roles started to kind of become known to me. And I was like, I think I can do that. I think I want to do that. I think my reach has reached its limit here. And my brain needs that change. And so I started to do a little bit of investigating into some of these corporate roles, and I applied for a few just to get my feelers for like what it was like to go from applying for a teaching role to then applying for a corporate position, which is such a huge thing. And you touched on it so beautifully before when you were talking about the fact that we don't get to sit around a table with someone who has applied for a corporate position before. We don't have people that sit at our tables and say, hey, Kahlia, this is what a CV needs to look like. Hey, Kahlia, this is the difference between a resume and a CV. I did not know that. No. I did not know that there was a difference. You just put in a resume, and some people called it a fancy CV. Like, I didn't know the difference. Yeah. And so I was teaching myself how to do these things and asking for supports from some of the mentors, and started applying for these jobs. And the first one came back with some really beautiful feedback. And they were like, oh, look, thank you so much for applying. And I get to work with this person now that got the first job I applied for. And the feedback was, the person you applied for the position with actually created the Aboriginal pedagogies. So like we gave it to them. And it's Arnie Yvonne Hill, and she literally created the 8 ways of learning. And I was like, oh, look, I can kind of accept that. That's a pretty cool person to not get a job with. And now I get to work with Arnie Yvonne, and she is so humble and so beautiful. But she literally created the 8 ways of learning. Have you heard of the 8 ways of learning? There's these Aboriginal pedagogies that talk about teaching Aboriginal children how they learn. So community connections, and there's 8 ways. And she invented it. Like she literally helped write the structure.
So I'm familiar with 8 ways.
Yes.
But my understanding is that was drawn out of Tyson Young Porter's PhD.
Yes, and written by Arnie Yvonne Hill, who is now a colleague of mine. It's pretty cool.
Do you know what I love? I love that the person who gave you feedback was open about that.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of environments where you would just get a no.
Yes.
Better listen.
Yeah.
Like that's so much more affirming because that's not a you don't belong here. It's a well, we wanted someone to do the thing and it turns out we could get the person who created the thing.
Yes. Yeah. Look, it's a pretty good person to not get a job against.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that was, as you say, really reaffirming because I knew I was on the right trajectory. It was just the door just wasn't open for me yet.
Yet is such a powerful word. Yet.
Yes.
I have to remind myself about that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that for me, like, being a little neurospicy, that's so hard to take, like that RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. You take everything so personally. So for me to be able to go, all right, that door's not open yet. It was really big. And I must say that the person who gave me the feedback was so lovely about it. And she even invited me down to Sydney to come and do some shadow work with them and just keep working on.
And did you do that?
I didn't get the chance to, but I would have had I have had the chance to, and I kept applying for a few more other positions, and then this role came up. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. And it was, once again, one of those sliding door moments. I'd submitted my CV 2 days prior for another position in the Aboriginal Education Communities Directorate, and it was delivering PL to teachers. And
professional learning.
Yeah. Sorry. And I was so I'd been like, oh, that wasn't a great go at it. I didn't feel as comfortable that time. And I kind of hit the submit button and I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I nailed that. And then just as I was going through the job, advertisements, I was like, oh, there's another one of those positions I applied for, but it was a bigger scope. So I am now the Language and Culture Officer for the Aboriginal Education Communities Directorate outside of the Nests for the state of New South Wales. And that job was just like, ding. It was like serendipitous. And I was like, oh, I'll put it in. I've already worked on this CV and I wasn't totally happy with it. So I'll put this one in. And poor mum, I was on school holidays down at mum's house and she had like 75 kids running around. And I was like, I've just got to do one more CV, mum. And she was like, yeah, go for it, babe. She's my biggest cheerleader. She has no idea what I'm talking about half the time, but she's like, yeah, do it. And so I submitted it and I just went, wow, I smashed that, hey. Like I'm not a very big cheerleader of myself. And I'm like, no, that one felt really good. And yeah, so that's how I kind of got to this space. Like it was really powerful because even my feedback from my now line leader was like, you nailed it so well that we thought someone was stitching us up because you were so perfect for the role. And it was just like one of those moments where you could see yourself being there. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And I could see myself being there and the feedback was so beautiful. So I was very lucky.
That's such an encouraging story to be feeling that sense of growth and being ready for the next thing.
Yes.
But having to be proactive in ways that can be really uncomfortable. You're going and looking up like, what is corporate? What is this thing? What is this stuff?
Yep.
And then trying to feel out if you can do it.
Yeah.
And then having these really positive like little run-ins with the feedback and the opportunities and
yeah.
And it's I sometimes I think of it as being massaged into place.
Yes.
Like, you're getting close.
Yeah.
And for me, I find I get like this big sense of frustration. Like, I can feel when I'm getting close to a thing.
Yes.
But I'm not quite there yet. And I'll like talk to my sister or like the people that I go to for advice on this stuff and be like, I know something's coming. I know I'm close to the next thing and I've just got to wait, but not wait passively.
Yes.
Wait proactively.
Yeah.
And then voila, like
Yeah.
the thing arranges. And it's funny because I'm not a religious person, but sometimes I feel like, okay, ancestors have held space or guided, or they've said that's not for you.
Yeah.
Because there's something coming. It's not time for you yet.
Yeah.
And I love that so much. And now you're in this phenomenal role.
Yes.
Leading and guiding and bringing not only 16 years of teacher experience, which is so important.
Yeah.
You already know how to work in these spaces. You know what teachers need on the ground.
Yes.
But then being the person who's coming from that cultural space.
Yeah.
And leading in language revitalisation and getting these programs in our schools. Like, if you're not across what's happening in the public schools in New South Wales, we tend to only hear the negative stories, things like, bullying or issues in the schools. But the public schools in New South Wales are incredible. Like, the programs, the opportunities, the things that are happening are vibrant. And the cultural work that's being done is wonderful. I'm so glad that they've got you on the team to lead in that space.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been amazing, and we are literally just on the beginning of this journey. And I've had the pleasure of working in preschools across the state who are teaching 4, 5, 6-year-olds sign language and their like traditional languages of the spaces that they're living in at the same time. And these children are having full conversations in language and discussing their feelings and emotions. And just to hear the language coming out of these little jarjums mouths is just, it like warms my heart. And to know that this is happening right across the state and it's a push from the top down as well that we are working towards.
Yeah.
Reawakening our languages.
We were saying over coffee before we started recording that we just feel so grateful to be benefiting, to be the ones who get to step into the let's do it role, which is a result of generations of really serious fighting by our elders and our old people and our community. And we've seen that through the AECG. Like, we get to see that. Some of the elders who sit on the regional AECG that Kahlia and I both get to be part of are phenomenal.
Oh, incredible.
Like, just phenomenal.
Yeah, the likes of your Auntie Yvonne's across the state who created opportunities for people like myself and even yourself to be in the spaces that we are in, and now we're working alongside them and I guess benefiting from the fight that they put up to get us into these places.
Well, we can thank these elders and fighters for Ike. We can thank them for Wallatuka. We can thank them. People often say like, oh, you've had stuff handed to you. Like, the amount of fighting and serious work that went into making space for then building the institutions that then created the support pathways that then allowed us to step in and learn.
Yeah.
And then we step in and we continue that fight.
Yeah.
And now we have kids, instead of facing criminalization for language, they're learning language in school.
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, obviously there are some just awful things happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
And that is awful. But at the same time, we are seeing language revitalisation among our children and in our schools. I think that's a great note to wrap up on.
Yes,
So,
I think so.
thank you so much, Marava, for joining me and for sharing and for all of the work that you're doing in our schools.
Waruk sis, keep up the good fight. You're doing amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.